let's get into game planning real quick. We're coming up here on the last phase of this. Let's talk about game planning. So how do you apply this to game planning? Well, the best thing that I think we have, and what I was missing early on as offensive coordinator, was the ability to tell a story of what the game plan is to the staff and the players. Like, how are we going to sit down and tell the game plan and lay this out in a real simple way? Because that was a very mundane, hard thing to do under a time constraints. As you know, as we're all in the middle of the season and we get worn down, how hard it is to do that. So typically game planning, something goes like this. I would start from a game plan. Yeah, how much plays do you need? How many plays and situations do you game plan for? In the high school game, you average 65 plays a game. Now, if you're a no-huddle team, you might get more, but the national average in high school football is 65 plays a game, right? Well, of those 65 plays, about 12 of those on average, game per game, are third downs. Okay, so you got 12 of those are going to be third downs, right? So we have to be able to come up with 12 third down situational plays. All right, now some of those might be the same plays, a different shift or motion, but we have to have 12 calls ready. So that's one phase. All right, that leaves us with 53 plays. All right, you average about 8 red zone plays a game, depending on how good of a team you are. So 8 plays need to be for red zone. Okay, so it depends on how you define the red zone. Some guys break it up: tight zone, red zone, green zone. Okay, anything 35 and in. That's what I'm talking about here, about 8 plays a game. Okay, so that gives us 45 plays. All right, you're going to average about 25, at least 25. If you have a good offense, you might get up to 30, 33. 25 plays are going to be first down plays. All right. And those plays are very important because that sets the stage for how efficient you are in the drive and whether you can convert that drive or not. So we got to have really good plays that have answers for different looks that get us a minimum of 4 yards, right? So you have 25 first down plays, okay? And so that leaves us with 20 remaining plays, all right? The remaining 20 are going to be second down plays, okay? So second down. So we divide second down into 2 categories. So we have second and long, right? And then we have second and medium. Okay, so that's really the 2 categories of plays. And so that's really how we break up our 65. All right. So now what you see here is you'll see that rhythm, read, rush, release pattern show up again. All right. So rhythm downs for us are first down. And so those have to be our best plays. All right. So we start on Sunday. That's when we game plan meet. We meet with the kids on Monday. All right. When they come to practice on Monday, all we're focused on are the rhythm plays, our best 25 best plays. They're going to get a minimum of 4 yards on first down. And those plays will attack what we feel their rhythm, front, and coverage are. All right. Okay. The read plays are going to be the second down plays. All right. Read plays, all right, are going to be the best adjustment that they may have to take away a rhythm play. It might be a blitz. It might, whatever they do on those situations. So they're all of our next best guesses of answers based on what they're going to adjust to. So it could be a different answer to a different front, or it could be a different concept, route concept against a different coverage. Those are replays. Those are practiced on Tuesday. All right, so we focus on replays on Tuesday. All right, Wednesday is rush day. That's situational day, okay? So rush day is third down, okay? And we go ahead and mix in red zone day on that. That's release day. So rush and release day, those key situationals are Wednesday, all right? And so that's 20 plays there. We feel like we get all 20 of those ran, some of those multiple times. So that's kind of, we break down a game plan week. So rhythm day is Monday, our best 25. Read day is second down day, their best adjustment, front or coverage. Could be a stunt or a blitz to take away that rhythm play is going to be Tuesday. And then Wednesday, our third down and red zone. That's rush and release day. Rush situations are blitz situations, or it could be specific coverage changes. Okay. And then there's all your other blitzes. And so what we do to grid this is we create this page that you see here. So we game plan based on formations, right? And so here's an example of our formation grid. Okay. These are called R4 grids. All right. This grid right here is the grid of the plays that we like. Think of it as a if-then play calling decision-making tree. All right. So again, I have my rhythm plays, my best plays that I like out of this formation. So there's really 4 categories. I have a strong run, I have a weak side run, I have a quick game 3-step, and I have a 5-step intermediate play. Now, I may not have all a play for each one of these sections in here, but if I had my druthers and I wanted to have a play for everyone, that's what I would have there. So I can run strong. In this case, in a 2x2 formation, the strength is to the field. So what's my best run strong? What's my best run weak? What's my best quick game? Either way, what's my best intermediate game? All right. Now, play action and stuff like that will go in a different column. RPOs can be merged in with the strong or weak run. So you can merge some of the quick game concepts with that. And that just helps you, depending on what offense you run, know where it would fit. Okay. So we're going to put, okay, that's the cap up here. What is cap? It's the base coverages that they'll play. It's the alignment, the fronts, and then the P is the personnel movements, the post-snap movements, the talent level, the blitzes that they run. So I'm going to get this information from Huddle. I'm going to sort all the different looks they have shown me in 2x2. So in this case, they played cover 3, rotated to the boundary 62% of the time. They went cover 3 to the field the other direction. That's what it's over here. Okay, cover 3 and brought a dagger blitz. They did that 18% of the time. And then they played cover 1 10% of the time. So I have my 3 top looks out of that formation gridded on this sheet. Okay, I have the 2 fronts that they played. This team was an odd personnel team, but they would play a 4-man front, an even front 70% of the time out of it. So that goes into my base look here. This is my rhythm grid. That's the base front and coverage that I'm going to anticipate to this 2x2 formation. All right, that was 70% of the time. And they played what we call a tight front 30% of the time. All right, so I have that over here. So I have the 2 different fronts that they showed in this formation. So now I could scheme, the different runs that I want using that sheet there. Okay, I also need to know the blitzes that they've shown on first and second down. Now, this sheet is for first and second down only. Third down is an entirely different entity for me. All right, so I will game plan that, and that I'll have a third down sheet, kind of like you see here, and for third downs later. Okay, so again, that's how I operate. Now, if I have a third down play that I like out of this formation, I'll write it in the rush column. Okay, so that's what I put in there. All right, but again, that gives you everything that you need to know out of that formation from your Huddle data. All right, and then once we've got that information entered in, now we can sit down and we can use this halo. That's the hard deck, the apex, the line of center. These are the 5 vertical tubes that are always present in any given formation. And I can use the halo rule or the halo method to see where the bubbles of space are. So if you've read what is open, you will know that at a minimum, okay, there's always going to be 4 bubbles of space availability on a formation. Okay, so again, there's 2 immediate threats to the left. There's only 1 safety there. All right, so there's your 4 bubbles. So you got a bubble in the flat, right? You got a bubble over here in this field tube. You got a bubble in this seam tube. All right, so that's spaces that are void of defenders. So as I game plan, I want to start out, what can I run that can attack these bubbles of space? That I want to make sure I answer that, because there's no defenders in that space. That's the weakness of coverage. All right, so that's what I use to game plan my passing game, is I use the bubbles. Now, run game, you're usually never going to have bubbles in the run box, because most defenses are going to be gapped out. They're going to have a defender for each run gap present. So you have to learn how to scheme run space and create it. So that's where it's all about the center line and gaining the man advantage. And that's where you run maybe your counter scheme and you bring an extra guy across and you neutralize the man advantage. Again, these are entirely different topics for a later day, and we have plenty of information out there on that. But that's kind of how we game plan our best strong run. And so maybe I like, let's say, weak side counter here, and I'm pulling the guard and tackle, right? And so I'm creating a bubble by flooding that area of space. And there's a bubble back here, so maybe I want to run double slants off of that. All right, so I would put that play, I would call that, we call that 7, and we would say Dallas. Dallas is our code word for double slant. So that would be my rhythm play strong, okay? Or it could be rhythm play weak, depending on how you view it. All right, and so that's how we game plan our if-then decision making. So then what I would do is like, okay, what are they going to do to take away that RPO? So maybe they'll blitz and they'll rotate to cover 3 to the field. Or maybe they'll do a corner hammer. There's different things that they could do, or maybe they'll blitz the safety. So that would be where I get into my read play. Okay, maybe they play a different front. All right, my rush play is what's my best answer to pressure. My release play is my shot play that I'm setting up with my rhythm. So again, every one of these boxes has questions that I'm going to answer. So I have all the answers I need for any situation within that formation. All right. And so we have a tree that shows you what the questions are, and it essentially guides your game planning process. And that's, again, part of the R4 system. But that's kind of just a overall view of how we use this sheet to build a if-then play calling sequence, and allows us to teach our players like telling a story. So they come in on Monday, we say, hey guys, here's our rhythm plays out of our shoot personnel, our shoot formation. This shoot is our word for 2x2. Okay, they're going to be a cover 3 week, right? Maybe like 4 vertical, maybe that's our 5 steps. So we say 4 vert. All right. And then, we can talk about our counter RPO. And then on Tuesday, when they come in, we can say, okay, here's the things that they're going to do to take those rhythm plays away. And here's our counters, and we're going to practice those today. And then, okay, hey, Wednesday, here's what they're going to do to add pressure. And if they can't stop the rhythm replay, here's what they're going to do to take it away. Here's the blitzes they're going to show, and here's how we're going to beat them. So these might be screens here. They might be shot plays. They might be bootlegs, play actions. There's any variety of plays you can put there. And then the release play is the home run play. All right. So maybe if if a big outside zone to the boundary, maybe it's the reverse. Right. And so you can see now they can connect the dots, right, as we tell the story day by day and feed them the game plan in bite-sized pieces. And we practice it in those pieces so it's digestible, they understand it. And then when they get in the game, they're coming back to me, hey, coach, we need to go to the replay. They've rotated to the field. They're bringing dagger pressure. We have those kind of conversations with our staff and our players. So it allowed me to connect everyone to everyone seeing space the same and understand the game plan the same. And our production went through the roof once that happened.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff, Coach. I was even, writing down, I was saying to you before, me coaching more on defense right now is scribbling on my notepad there. That same process, theoretically, you could reverse engineer and work the other way from, hey, what's our base call to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's amazing stuff. We did get a couple of really good questions in the chat, which fit nicely with what you're talking about here. The first one from Coach Douglas was, how many games typically would you use to get that grade on each player in terms of, okay, are they a positive collision or, et cetera, et cetera? Do you have like a set number that you like or a set number of reps you like, or is that just more so, based on what you have on that given team?
Yeah. So when you grade accelerators, now remember, we just graded the passing game accelerators, how they play coverage. This same process is used for run game and run fit. So that's the run cap. So that's the beauty of this. There's a whole nother world to this that our offensive line coach does and our tight ends coach do to gauge the predictability of what run schemes are going to work and which ones to stay away from based on defense. Grading is like going into a crime scene and you have to extract evidence that might be hard to see. So some crime scenes are really bloody and the murder weapon's right there. It's easy to solve that one. That's like a game that you get, a scout film that you get, and let's say you're an air raid team, and the team that is playing the defense you're going against the next week is an air raid. And so it matches what you're seeing. So it's real easy to get a lot of good clips and it matches what you do. But then you might be an air raid in the next game for the next opponent that week is a single wing team. And they throw the ball 2 times a game. And so you can't extract anything from that, right? So again, sometimes I'll have 1 play, sometimes I'll have no play, sometimes I'll have 5. What I've found is if I can get 3 to 5 clips attacking a specific defender, the amount of information you can gain from the game is all you need, because I don't need to grade 5 more clips of how he plays a slant versus man coverage. I don't need 5 clips of how he defends a fade route. I just need 1. And what happens is you'll start to see, if you do this and practice this, you'll start to see those patterns will continue because he's not going to change who he is. So again, to answer the question, 3 to 5 is optimal. And you can a lot of times get that from 1 game. You don't need 2 or 3 games. You don't need to sit down. And what this did is it freed me up, because before I'd watch 3 or 4 hours of film, I'd watch all 3 games. I get lost. I have no idea what I'm looking at. Now I can dump that on other people, my players and my staff, because I trust them with the grades they're going to get. And it frees me up to put the collective game plan together, and they bring the grades to confirm if it's going to work or not.
Yeah, that's awesome. The second question that I got in the chat there was, is there a certain play? So once you've taught the fundamentals of what you're talking about in terms of seeing space the same way, is there a certain play that you find that you start with, when you start to take that from, okay, this is the general sense of what we're talking about, to, okay, let's look at this case study in this play. Is there a certain play that you feel like does that really well, or do you feel it's, whatever your basic play is in your offense, then you can start there?
Are you talking about the scheme of a play?
Yeah, like, is there a certain play you use to try and highlight some of these concepts with your players, like, specifically?
Okay, well, when we talk about plays that we like to run, I feel the best plays have these three properties here. Okay, and I don't know if this answers your question, but I feel like and this goes for run and pass. I feel plays that have some sort of fake, they have a flow, and they have a flood to it. And what I mean by that is, like, so for example, in the run game, plays that are reading a defender. Okay, like most RPOs are reading a conflict player. That's a fake scheme. Or like zone read, you're not blocking a guy, so you're gaining numbers elsewhere. All right, that is what a fake scheme strategy is. All right, so not all plays have that, but the plays that do seem to have put the defense in worse binds and cause conflict. Okay, flow. What is flow in the run game? Flow is using the flow of a play. So it could be like midline zone. So for example, on our midline zone play, okay, let's say this is a tight end here, right? This is a running back. Our midline zone play could hit down the center line. It could hit in the backside A gap, the backside B, the backside C. It could cut all the way back to the D. We're essentially reading the plugging ability of backside inside backers, this Mike, and we're trying to make him where he can't be right. So again, that's a flow strategy. We're using the flow of a defender to set him up one way and create space elsewhere. In the pass game, flow is a quarterback looking off. So when he looks to the right, he is actually forcing defenders to work that space with him, and he's actually creating space elsewhere. So that's a flow strategy. Flood is bringing one or more players across the center line. So counter, right, brings two across the center line. You're flooding a space. Shallow routes, drags, digs, anything that works over the center line, that's a flood concept. You're flooding space, you're flooding a zone. So again, the best plays in football have all three built in. So that's why option schemes have fake, they have flow, and they have flood. Naked bootleg is a fake flow flood concept. Naked bootleg is the best pass play in football, right? Using jet sweeps, that's a flow strategy, and then flooding with power or counter. That's the schemes that we're looking for. Again, you got me off there. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the plays we try to emulate first and we try to install first, because we're trying to put as much conflict on those players as possible with their eyes, right, with their keys, and trying to maintain a full field attack no matter what play we're calling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great answer to that. It's so interesting. Like, you put it that way. It's such a concrete way of, we all run different things, but we're all trying to in some way create an advantage. And I think that I remember reading some of that, in your work and bringing that to what we try and do as well, with my team. And actually, I did a big Michigan study this year, not to get too far off topic here, but some of the, their biggest plays, like the end around stuff, obviously the flea flicker is a whole other deal, but, I think they had like 12 or 13 really explosive plays on end arounds about just everybody except Georgia. They had one of those, and you see all three of those elements, usually unbalanced formation, usually misdirection going one way, usually getting, an extra player, whether it's a pulling guard or the Y on split zone coming across the set. And I had never made that connection there to those three strategies as well. So yeah, that's fantastic. The last question